Hi everyone, thank you for joining the Fight with Teddy Atlas. I'm Teddy Atlas III, joined by International Boxing Hall of Famer, live streamer, my main man, Teddy Atlas. How we doing, bud?
No, I'm doing good because you're still here. You're still in the New York vicinity. You're still in Atlas House on Staten Island, your former house. You're not in Las Vegas. You're here where you belong. You're here with your family. And it's good to have you here. You came in for your birthday, and you're still here, and I hope you stay as long as possible, along with your family and our grandson. So, and it was great. I mean, first thing I want to say is I hope everybody had a great Memorial Day. We had a great one. We were together as a family down at my daughter's house down in Rumson, New Jersey. My daughter Nicole with her beautiful 3 kids and her husband and her family. And as I said, you and little Teddy the third and Lana and
Teddy the Fourth.
Teddy the Fourth. I'm sorry, you're Teddy the Third. And I don't see him enough. See, I'm forgetting what number he is. I need to see him more. I guess subliminally, without even realizing it, I'm making sort of reminders to you that I need to see him a little bit more because we miss him. But we had a great day. It was a great day. We even did boxing lessons in the backyard with the kids, and we had fun with that. And I just hope that everyone had a good Memorial Day, that we should never forget those in the military sacrificed their lives to give us this way of life, which is called freedom. And the old saying that freedom does not come free. It comes with a cost. And really, only the most special of God's children are willing to put forward that price. And we are the benefactors of it. So I just want to say that. Also, New York is still without a champion. The Knicks went down. I know your friend Lenny is happy. Lenny the man, he for this week he's not going to be the mush. He's going to be Lenny the man because he had the Knicks, he had the Indiana Pacers early in the season to get to the finals. And he also had the Oklahoma City to get to the finals. So he's sitting in a place, he's enjoying the sun. He's usually chilly by now. You know what I mean? He's usually iced by now. But he's enjoying some sunlight. And you know what? We love him. We're happy for that. It's still amazing that New York, the metropolitan, the New York. I mean, one of the biggest markets in the world, one of the biggest cities, most famous city in the world, doesn't have a champion team. Well, they got the Liberty, so I don't want to take anything away from the great New York Liberty, but they don't have. I mean, the Mets and Yanks have a good year. Maybe they'll get back on the winning side. The Yanks made it to the World Series Finals last year. They got beat with the Dodgers. Dodgers is still a top team. The Mets and Yanks might do it, but the Jets and Giants ain't doing it no time soon. And they need to call you, get you back, get you in there as director of scouting. Maybe things would turn a little bit, but yeah, they lost. They never really overcame that first game loss where they were up by 14 with like 2.5 minutes left, somewhere in that neighborhood, and they wound up blowing the game. I don't think they really shrugged. They made a little run. They won the fifth game, but they go down in 6 to the Indiana Pacers. They're gonna have to play Oklahoma City Thunder now. I think the OK City Thunder will win it. They got a good defense. They got good everything. I mean, they're really a good team. I think they had the 5th winningest season record of all time in the NBA. That's how good they were. Golden. You have the Chicago Bulls with Michael Jordan. You have Golden.
Yeah, the Golden State Warriors.
Golden State Warriors, the number 1. I guess the Chicago Bulls would have been the number 2 record of all time. And, I don't know who else is up there, but they're the 5th winningest season of all time, which is pretty damn good. So we'll see who wins that. But again, the Knicks didn't quite get there. I have a solemn note. We lost someone in our boxing family. We lost the great Mike McCallum, 3-division champion, the body snatcher. First Jamaican-born fighter to win a world title. 49 wins, 5 losses, 1 draw, 36 knockouts. Never stopped. And out of those 5 losses, he lost 3 of his last 4 fights of his career. You know, when obviously he was not at the pinnacle of his talent, of his success. Like a lot of the great fighters, a lot of their losses that they do have are accumulated late in their career when they're past their prime. But the guy was a great fighter, and he made Jamaica proud. He made everyone proud. He made all his people proud. He made all people proud. The way he conducted himself outside the ring, not only inside the ring. He was a champion in all ways. In all ways. And I posted something yesterday to memorialize him and to pay a tribute to him. When you blend great talent with great technique and great instincts, you get Mike McCallum. I mean, he was great. I mean, they call him the body snatcher. That's only part of it. Yeah, he was a great body puncher. He was a great technician. He was a great fighter. And a heck of a human being. And he left us way too early, 68 years old. Just way, way too early. God bless him. Rest well, champ. We got a hell of a stable up there. Got a heck of a stable up there. And I want to, before we get started now, that I put those things forward, I want to give a congratulations to our cameraman here. We also, we always mention Richie Limbacher and Bennett Garcia. I mention them a lot. The editor of all this is Bennett Garcia. Him and my son do all that. And Richie does the camera work. And Richie went into a tournament. He's an MMA fighter. And he had his first fight this weekend. He went into a Tiger Showman. Everyone's heard of Tiger Showman. If you know anything about MMA, if you're a fan of MMA, you heard of Tiger Showman's schools. I mean, they're world famous. So he went into Tiger Showman's Challenge of Champions tournament in Edison, New Jersey over the weekend. And he won his first MMA fight. We're very proud of him. He wound up taking a bronze medal in the tournament, and you're gonna see him. We're gonna show a picture of him. He's very proud. We're very proud with that medal, and he's a champion. But he's always been a champion for us because we know the way that he conducts himself as a human being. Couldn't be a better gentleman. Couldn't be as good a job as Tiger Showman. I'll finish with this. As good a job as Tiger Showman and their trainers have done with teaching him, his parents did a better job. That's where the real champion is.
Yeah,
the human being. The human being that you are. And that's why it's so tough to lose somebody like Mike McCallum. Because not only were they great in their trade, obviously as a fighter, which is a hell of a thing. That deserves tribute alone, to be that great at something in this world. That deserves a tribute, and it gets a tribute. But being a hell of a human being, that tops it. As we used to say, that's the whipped cream on top. That's the cherry on top of the whipped cream. And I know that because I took your son to Eggers the other day with Mara, my granddaughter, your niece, and Joseph, your nephew, my other grandson. Adeline wasn't there. She's not quite ready to go to Eggers, the ice cream spot on Staten Island, and homemade ice cream for many years. And your son said, "Can I get whipped cream and a cherry on top?" I said, "Yeah, of course. How could we how could we get a ice cream sundae without cherry and whipped cream? Of course. So now you are the cherry on top. Take it away. Let's get into some boxing, and let's destroy a referee along the line. I'm just teasing a little bit for the people out there that are getting ready to, watch the whole show. These, please. You're giving me high blood pressure. You're giving me agita. I thought I was past that, but you never get past some of these judges that continue to screw up a great sport. At the end of the day, the right guy won, and we had a huge upset. But take us through it, bud.
Yeah, before we get into that judge and that fight, which was the Caliplant Resendiz fight, we're going to start with the co-main event, and that was Jermall Charlo versus Thomas Lamanna. Also super middleweights at 168 pounds. This was the first fight for Jermall Charlo since 11/25/2023 when he fought David Benavidez' brother, Jose Benavidez Jr. Now, with that being said, I thought Charlo did what he's supposed to do.
Little rust, but go ahead. I'm sorry. I don't mean to jump in.
Yeah, a little rust, but fighting Lamanna, a guy who's only second time fighting above 160 pounds in his life, fighting at 168 pounds, and a guy who's been stopped 4 times in his career before. With that being said, Charlo did get the stoppage, came in the 6th round when the fight was stopped. Knocked off some of that rust, but my question for you, bud, besides when we get into the performance of Charlo, was it the right opponent? When we talk about knocking off the rust, did he get enough rounds in? Did he knock off enough rust in the 6 rounds versus Lamanna, where he really wasn't challenged? Anyway, he's back in the win column, and he's back on to bigger and better things. We're glad to see that he's returned from some of his battles and mental health struggles. What'd you think of the fight? What'd you think of Charlo overall?
No, listen, Charlo got the job done. The main thing is he got the win. He came back. He's been very inactive. He's had problems outside the ring. He's had some mental health issues. We all hope that he's good. We all hope that everybody's good. God bless everyone. We want everyone to be healthy. We want everybody to be happy. And in life, period. And definitely in the business that I've been in for 50 years and dedicated my life to. We want anyone who takes the risk they take to get in that ring to be in a good place in life for taking that risk. He's still undefeated. To your point, yeah, I think it was the right opponent. He got the win. He got the knockout win. He got the stoppage win. So I think it was the right opponent. He got some rounds. Did he want to get rounds? Maybe he carried him a little bit. I don't know. I'm going to be very fair here, very fair-minded. I'm not going to go and jump on him and be critical after he got a win, but he could have got rid of him earlier. I know people, I hear him already. Teddy, you said you're not going to be critical, and you just said that he could have got rid of him earlier. I'm being me. I'm telling you what I think I need to tell you from what I've observed. You need to be told whatever I think is the whole story, not part of the story. Remember, what was that? Steve Harvey on the news? Boy, he was legendary. I used to listen to him on the news. He had a show on radio, AM radio, when I used to be in a car doing house calls with my father. It's the only time I could be with him. And I'd be in a car, and we'd be listening to Lee Harvey. I think it was Steve Harvey. Steve Harvey with the news. Good day, Steve Harvey with the news. And now for the rest of the story. Because he would tell you the highlight. He would tell you the news, the breaking news highlight that everybody could tell you. But then he would say, after he told you, the obvious and the topic of what happened that day, then he would say, now for the rest of the story. So here, for the rest of the story, I think if he wants to be back the way he was and be that name on people's lips and be that name that's being put out there for big fights, and with the Saudi money, with everything else going on in this business, if he wants to be in that mix, I mean, he's made plenty of money with Al Heyman and him and his brother winning the titles. And again, God bless them. They deserve it. They took the risk. They went in there. They won the fights. They've done well. They've done very well. But if he wants to continue to be in that mix, in that higher altitude of fighters, if you will, if you want to put it that way, then I think if he got rid of this particular fighter who's a game guy, Lamanna is 39-5-1. Now he's 39-6-1. I guess he had been stopped 3 times going in. He has 18 knockouts. Now he's been stopped 4 times. Lamanna's a game guy. He's tall, he's wiry. The problem with Lamanna, he doesn't use those physical assets. He's a tall guy that fights short. You know, he fights tall for a minute, but at the end of the day, he winds up fighting in your landscape, you know, in your geography, in close. And that's exactly what Charlo wanted to do. Charlo was physically superior to him. Forget about the undefeated record. He was physically stronger. For Lamanna to have any shot, he had to keep it on the outside. He couldn't keep it on the outside. Once he couldn't keep it on the outside, and to the credit of Charlo, he got close. He went to the body. He broke him down. He imposed his forget about the will. He imposed his physicality onto the less physical Lamanna. That's how he won the fight. And that's what he was supposed to do. And he did it. If he did it 2 or 3 rounds, say 2 rounds earlier, I would have said he would have been more of a benefactor of that because of that kind of win. For the reason we just said and that you brought up, that it would keep him, I'm not saying he's not still an elite, but a lot of people don't think of him, his name don't come to their lips as an elite being inactive so long that he hasn't been out there, you know, fighting those fights. So if he wanted to ensure himself again, being in that stratosphere of the top names where he could be in the mix for those kind of big fights coming up, I think he would have helped himself, and he could have helped himself by getting rid of Lamanna earlier. It looked like one of 3 things. He either didn't get rid of him earlier because he didn't want to. That's possible. He wanted to get some, you know, he wanted to stretch it a little and get some rounds in, carry him a little bit. I'm not saying he did, but that's one possibility. The other one is the rust, that he was a little hesitant. The rust physically or the rust mentally, where he was just, you know, and the other thing is he just didn't want to get reckless. You know, he wanted to do it in a deliberate fashion, without being stupid, without running into something. And maybe that probably allowed Lamanna to get an extra 2 rounds in there. Again, I thought it was set up where he probably could have got rid of him cleaner. A little faster and a little cleaner. And it would have served him in the way that we just said. At the end of the day, he did the most important thing. He got back. And he won. And he doesn't get a cherry on top, all right? That's the way I'm going to finish it, since we were talking about ice cream and cherries and whipped cream. You know, he delivered a couple scoops of good ice cream on a nice little tray there, but it wasn't dressed up. It didn't have all those extra, you know, things that your son loves and that Nicole's kids love, that all kids love. It didn't have the sprinkles.
Well, he gets back in the win column. He's now 34-0 at 35 years old. He's right back there in the picture. Little different landscape than it used to be, with a lot of fighters heating up in this 168-pound weight division. It seems like he lost the grudge match now for Caleb Plant. We're going to get into that in a second, but we will see what's next for Jermall Charlo moving forward.
And talk about seeing, and you're going to touch on it right now, but people, we're doing live streaming, not just the huge fights. We're doing the in-between fight. We did this card. You know, this wasn't a huge card, but, you know, you had champions on the card. So we did the card. And it turned out to be a huge upset there. And my son has set it up in a minute. But we did the live streaming. Again, if you want us to continue doing this, my son's the one who talked me into it. He said, Dad, come on, you're always into the movies. You're a field of dreams. Build it, they will come. All right, so my son built it. And if you guys come, we're going to continue. We're not going to be in Iowa, with shoeless Joe Jackson out there, hitting fly balls or shagging fly balls. But we're going to be out there calling fights for you guys on a regular basis, where you have the alternative. You have the option of turning off the sound and listening to me do the commentating the way that many of you did for 18 years on ESPN. Actually, more than 18 years. It was like 22 years. On ESPN, the first 18 was Friday Night Fights. That you will have the option of having me back in that seat if you want that option. But again, it's in your hands. You guys got to come out and show it. You've come out in some of our fights pretty big. Pretty big. We've got one of them, we got 700,000 of you came out. That's a big number. And then other ones, we got 100,000, 50,000, 60. You got to come out. If you come out, again, we'll cut that grass down, we'll build it. All right? We'll cut that grass down in that field there. And we'll go out there and we won't shag fly balls, but we will talk about jabs and hooks and all that stuff that you guys seem to enjoy talking about. I hope
the live
you
stream
enjoyed it. I hope the people that watched it enjoyed it. I hope the people that were there with us enjoyed it, because we made you, as the people on the internet put out, we made you a little scratch. We made you, my son's like this. We made, a little scarole, my Italian friends would say. Made a little extra scarole. Probably not pronouncing it right. We, going into the fight, Plant was like a prohibitive favorite. It was like minus 2,600, 2,500.
He was minus 2,500 favorite.
After a few rounds, I said, hey, I forget what round. My son would line it up after I get finished here and clean it up. But at a certain point, it started changing. I said, jump on the dog. Jump on the live wagering. Jump on Resendiz. One thing I say, I make mistakes with the handicapping, but one place that I don't make too many is when I'm watching a fight live. Or if I've had the benefit of watching a fight, tape of a fighter prior to handicapping the fight. Then I'm pretty good. But live, I have to say myself a little bit that live wagering, we can make a little scratch. I don't want no one going crazy. There's no guarantees. There's no guarantees out there. I don't want you going and betting your freaking your kids' lunch money. You don't do stupid stuff like that. But if you have a little something extra that ain't gonna hurt you, and you're watching a fight with me and my son, and I say, hey, get on this guy. Get on him a little bit. And we said that during the fight. Get on Resendiz. Get on him now. I'm jumping on him. If I'm doing any live betting, folks, I'm going to tell you right now, you don't want to wait any longer. Get in on Resendiz. Get on him. Get on him now. I'm not guaranteeing nothing. It's called gambling. There's no guarantee, but I'm the good right hand by Resendiz. Get on it. You're getting plus 140. My son is being the man now, feeding me all the information. Teddy Atlas is telling you, get on him. Get on Resendiz right now. Get on him. And then, by the time the next round went, I said, say goodbye to that boat. It's sailing away with your money. If you didn't get on, wave from the harbor. Wave from the dock. Bye-bye money. Bye-bye extra. Bye-bye extra money. Because that was the time to get on it. But
absolutely.
We're going to do more. I hope you enjoyed it. We enjoyed it. Take it away, bud. I just wanted to
Yeah, and to piggyback off of that, the live stream, as always, it's still up. So some of you guys, if you didn't get a chance, want to listen to Teddy's commentary, go on to the YouTube channel, take a look, and you'll see exactly what we're talking about there in the Resendiz fight. I think it was around round 4. And also, besides the in-fight live betting, follow Teddy on his social media. There might be a little nugget coming your guys' way for a big upset, maybe on this Saturday. So we don't want to give it away who it is and who Teddy likes, but if you want it, follow his social media. It's going to be up there this week.
See,
so
my son's becoming that real TV guy. It's called a tease in the business. He's getting really good at this stuff, like he was at the scouting stuff, in the NFL. We're gonna show you a little something before the fight starts.
Before the fight, yep.
And you're gonna have a chance, I think, to have an early Christmas. That's all right. Well, we'll see.
Yeah, let's get into it. Caleb Plant fought Jose Armando Resendiz. Plant, WBA interim super middleweight champion heading into this fight. And as you said, minus 2,500 favorite. Resendiz pulls off the monster upset. As you were saying, bud, the early rounds, Plant was winning the fight. He was boxing, he was moving, and Resendiz wasn't letting his hands go enough. And then you called it. It was right hand, I think around the 4th round. Even in a round that maybe Resendiz didn't have a huge round, but the tide turned. You could see the confidence, his demeanor, and the fight changed. And for me, from that point on, it might have been a whitewash. He might have taken from the 5th or at least a halfway point all the way through and swept all rounds, in my opinion.
Except for one drunken judge. Now, look, he wasn't. Now, before it gets all over the internet, I don't know that the judge was drinking. I'm just saying. I don't know.
Well, that would be a good excuse. Then it would make sense.
I'm just trying to understand what the explanation could be.
There's no understanding it. And we will get into that more from David Sutherland, was the judge, with the horrible scorecard that was turned in and made this unanimous decision that it should have been into a split decision victory.
We're going to put a picture of him up. We're going to put his name up. And we're going to start calling these guys. We're going to start making people be accountable. That's the one thing in this country. We need more accountability. We do, for everything. You do something wrong, be accountable. Be accountable, that's all. You get another chance to correct it, but you got to be accountable. And especially when you're in this business where you're hurting people's lives. Because when you get it wrong, you put a fighter who already went through hundreds, thousands of punches to get to that point. You put him back in the line to take hundreds and thousands of punches again sometimes to get back to that position. You're hurting that person. You're hurting their family. You're doing damage. You have to be held accountable. Somebody's got to be in a position to say, hey, no more of that damage. Somebody's got to police it. Somebody has to be on a tower somewhere, not an ivy tower. God forbid. I would never be in an ivy tower. Me? No. I would fall off it. But somebody has to, and I did it for years at ESPN, I'm doing it here, that has to say, hey, that ain't right. You're hurting somebody. You're hurting someone's family by hurting them. You're hurting a person that goes into the hurt business, that takes a risk of getting hurt, of leaving the ring with less of themselves than they entered the ring with. You're hurting that person. You shouldn't be hurting that person. The only one should hurt him is his opponent who's trying to hurt him, but nobody else. No, we're gonna stop it. We're gonna do what they do on the packs of cigarettes. Yeah. Warning. When they put a warning up, Surgeon General's warning. This can be dangerous to your health. This judge can be dangerous to a fighter's health. That's it. Take it away, bud.
Yeah, with that being said, we have eyeballs. You're turning the fans off. You're ruining the sport. You're hurting the sport, as you're saying. Max DeLuca and Steve Weisfeld gave 7 of the last rounds to Resendiz. All 7, and Weisfeld gave the last 8 rounds. What does David Sutherland do? He gives the last 3 rounds to Caleb Plant and 4 of the last 6 to Caleb Plant. Mind-boggling.
Don't smoke Sutherlands. Don't smoke Sutherland. Rich, If you smoke, I know you won't smoke. You're an MMA fighter. But if you do not smoke.
And the reason why we have to talk about this, besides that it happened, it's not the first time. And it won't be the last time, I'm sure. He did this. We were at the fight live in L.A., the undercard of Terrence Crawford's last fight versus Madrimov in L.A., and it was the Jarrell Miller-Ruiz fight.
Oh!
Clearly, Jarrell Miller won the fight.
He sure did.
He scored it a draw.
Miller won that fight every which way to Sunday, twice on Sunday. And he earned it. He came back from hell. I mean, you got to give him credit. Yeah, I know it was his fault that he tested positive. Everyone makes mistakes. He made mistakes. He paid for it. He lost a lot of money. Yeah, he paid, and he deserved to. I'm not, defending him in that way. Where I'm defending him, where I'm standing up for him, is that he paid his price. He gave his pound of flesh. He lost all that money. He got suspended. He did stupid stuff. He hurt himself. But he came back. And he came back in that big fight with the former world champion. And he won that fight. He won that fight big. And he got freaking robbed.
He got Sutherland.
He got robbed. He got Sutherland. That's a new one. Get bumper stickers. Don't get Sutherland. Don't get Sutherland. I got Sutherland.
It's
Something
like
goes wrong.
You're the movie guy, the great movie Kingpin. You've been Munsoned. You've been Sutherland.
You've been Sutherland. You've been mushed.
I said I'd sooner get Munsoned out here in the middle of nowhere.
Munsoned? What the hell is that?
You know, Munsoned. To be up a creek without a paddle, to have the whole world in the palm of your hand and then blow it. You know, it's a figure of speech.
What?
Getting back to the fight, and I don't want to discredit or take anything away from the great performance of the 26-year-old Resendiz, but it did look to me from that midway point on that the wars of the past were starting to show on Caleb Plant. Don't forget the brutal knockout loss to Canelo Alvarez, the brutal fight versus David Benavidez, and even in his last fight, which he won, it was a tough fight versus a physical, big, strong Trevor McCumbee where he dropped Plant in the fourth round of that fight. I thought that started to show.
No, it did. You brought it up during the live stream.
Yeah, the legs, too.
And what do I always say? A fighter's age, for me, is not judged chronologically. It's judged by the amount of punches they've taken in their career, the amount of tough fights they've been in. Everybody deals with it differently. Everyone's genetically different. And everyone's style is different. Floyd Mayweather didn't get hit that much. He could fight to 103. God bless him. But certain guys can't because they're taking more punishment. You know, and again, genetics play into it. But you don't judge. I don't judge a fighter's age chronologically. It's by how much punishment have they taken. To your point, and you said it during the live stream. And recently, especially, he has taken, in the last year, 2 years, he's taken quite a bit of punishment. His last fight with Benavidez, he took a lot of punishment. Before that, he took punishment with Canelo. Before that, he also, as you said, what was the other fight?
Trevor McCumbee. Even in victory, he was knocked down in the fourth round of that fight. And yeah, I thought, to your point, what you just said, at 32 years of age, the legs looked gone to me. They weren't there. It wasn't the same movement. It wasn't the same guy. And in credit and in part, obviously, to Resendiz. But I just want to get your overall thoughts.
And I give credit to Plant. He showed the championship character, heart, resiliency, desire, will, not to give up his belt, interim title, but still, not to give up that belt. He showed all of that. He didn't want to lose that belt. But Resendiz, to his credit, showed he wanted to get that belt.
Absolutely. And maybe it's also stylistically, right? 3 losses now for Caleb Plant. All 3 losses versus Mexican fighters who come forward and pressure. Canelo, Benavidez, and now Resendiz. Do you feel like that was part of it in play? And just want to hear your thoughts overall. What you thought of the fight?
It all comes down to geography. who wins the battle of geography where they are able to control the part of the ring, the location of the ring. You know, you got to go see a real estate broker sometimes. It's all about location, location, location. Who controls the part of the ring that serves their skill sets the best? This fight was easy to understand that, to set up, as I did before the fight, you know, a scenario of what could happen and what should happen for both guys if they were going to be successful or if they weren't going to be successful. Plant needed to control the outside, and he did the first couple rounds. I think it started changing a little in the third, not the fourth, but you're right, it was more significant in the fourth. But the first couple rounds, and later in the fight too, when Plant was able to control the outside, you know, use his legs to your point, you know, if your legs are getting older and you got to control the outside, it's a little harder. It's a little harder. You're handicapped. You're at a disadvantage. You need legs if that's your style. Now, if that's not your style, George Foreman, that wasn't his style. 45 years old. He won the heavyweight title against my guy. Yeah, I don't hide from it. And, man, George was special. But, you know, at 45, he wasn't the kind of fighter that used his legs. He wasn't Muhammad Ali. I wish he was that night. But he wasn't. Plant is the kind of guy that does, especially against an aggressive, as you said, Mexican fighter who's putting pressure on, who wants to get inside, get into the kitchen. He needs the legs to fight at his best, to be what he needs to be. On the outside, putting punches together, counter-punching, making Resendiz go through a bad neighborhood and trying to mug him. That's the recipe. That's the recipe, you know, for success, for keeping your title, if you're Plant. And when your legs are getting old, now you have to fight more inside than you want to. And that favors the 26-year-old in this case. Youth was served in this fight. It was. And I'm taking nothing away from Resendiz, but being younger, also he did what he had to do. The first 2 rounds I was going nuts. I was saying, he won't leave the driveway. I was making the analogy like a car. He's got to get on the road. You got to start moving forward. You got to start closing the gap. You're sitting idling in the freaking driveway. You're going to run out of gas. You're not getting anywhere. You're not going nowhere. You have to move. And he started in the third round, finally, moving forward. And you know what the real key to this fight was? Not only that he moved forward, but when he started jabbing. For Plant, that changed the fight. For Plant to win this fight, he had to control the geography on the outside, as I already put forward. He had to be able to get his punches off at the right range, keep Resendiz outside. He had to use his jab to set the table. If there's no jab coming at him, only a little pressure, but no jab coming at him from Resendiz, there's no bugs on the windshield. He's got clear vision. He can pot shot. He can navigate his way through. He can see what's coming, get off, make a little move, change range a little bit. You know, it's much easier to do. It's a lot easier to drive when there ain't mud on the windshield. But the jab represents mud or bugs on the windshield. Once Resendiz started pressing with the jab, using the jab, wow, big difference. Because he took away one of the most important weapons that Plant had, that he needed. The domination of the jab, the controlling of range. How do you control range? 2 ways, with your legs and with a jab. We already said the legs were deteriorating. You picked up right away. Now the jab is not dominant anymore. Now the jab is not in play anymore. Now the jab is not controlling Resendiz anymore. You got a big problem. You know,
when you're not a big power puncher to begin with, to your point, how do you keep a guy off of you?
Yeah, you got a problem now. It's kind of like Houston, we got a problem. Hello, Houston, we have a problem, Houston. Engines are not firing on Rocket 6. We have a problem. So as soon as Resendiz started jabbing, it started negating the jab that was looking to dominate the fight. Plant wanted that punch to dominate the fight, to set the table for everything else. So once that jab started coming from Resendiz, he no longer, again, it nullified the jab. There's two ways to take away the jab of somebody who's trying to win the fight with their jab. One is to counter with right hands over their jab. You start hitting them with right hands, they ain't going to jab at you no more. Believe me, they're going to think twice. But he couldn't do that early on because, to Plant's credit, he was jabbing from a distance where you couldn't get close enough to counter that right hand. So the other way to take away the jab is use your jab. Use your jab. You don't have to be tall or longer. Mike Tyson, when he was at his best, out-jabbed taller guys. Because the timing of it was straight, it was accurate. He moved his head, he slipped your jab, bang, bang. He got in with his jab. It didn't matter that he was only 5'9.5" or 5'10", and you was 6'5", or 6'4", 6'3", or whatever. Everybody was taller than him. And he at his best, he still out-jabbed most guys. Again, once Resendiz started jabbing and didn't allow Plant to control everything off that jab, he started to close the gap. He started to do damage. He got inside. He took over. And then one other thing. There was some rounds when he got in, he didn't keep his hands free. He allowed himself to get tied up. Plant, it made sense for Plant to tie him up because he don't want to be fighting with him on the inside. He wants to control the outside. Not that he can't, but he's got a bigger edge on the outside. Resendiz has a bigger edge on the inside. Resendiz can't win on the outside. He's got to be inside. But when you're inside, what the freak is the sense of being inside if you don't keep your hands free and punch? In other words, if you allow the guy to tie you up. It takes two to tango. I don't want to hear these idiots that say, oh, he got tied up because he allowed himself to get tied up. He cooperated. And early on, he was cooperating. It does take two to tango. So early on, he was putting his hands where Plant could grab him. He was smothering himself. He was doing all the things to allow Plant to tie him up and keep him from doing what he had to do. Work on the inside. Go to the body. Go to the head. Throw short punches. Break down Plant. Break him down. And then finally he started doing that. He didn't put his hands where he could be grabbed. He rotated his shoulders. He kept his hands in front. And then the most important thing he did, and you can see it on the video, and my son will make sure, Richie, Bennett, that's his job. Bennett in the editing studio will make sure that he puts tape to this so you see it. The most important part of it for me, and nobody else mentioned this, was when Resendiz started moving his feet. When he got inside, and instead of letting Plant tie him up, which he was trying to tie him up, he started moving his feet back a little bit and continued punching, giving himself room to punch, giving himself room to continue the offensive flow. He didn't, because when you smother yourself, it's kind of like a faucet with the water run. You want the water to run, you let it run. You turn the faucet, it stops. When you allow a guy to get too close, the faucet stops, the water stops. He kept the water running by taking those little steps back, pop, 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 and just landing nice right hands, short right hands on top, little short shots inside. He started to break Plant down. And he took over, as you said, he took over the fight. And from that point on, he pretty much dominated the fight. I mean,
Except
Don't
for
he-
Sutherland.
yeah, I mean, maybe he should have got closer to Sutherland and reached over and hit him a shot. Maybe then he would have realized, oh, yeah, that's real. Those punches are real. It's not a figment of my imagination. He's actually punching. I'm not giving him credit. I'm not seeing it.
He took over fast. That was a great breakdown. There was some great analogies. I mean, the flooding happened quick. And again, go back, watch the live stream just to that point of how quick it happened. When you gave Resendiz at plus 140, the next round he was minus 220. The following round, minus 350. Few rounds after that, too late, minus 1600. So he did not slow down, and he kept it going, and he gets the win. And we will see what's next. There was a rematch clause in the contract. We will see if Caliplant chooses to activate that. I would assume he will, as a competitor, as a world champion, trying to get a chance in the rematch to win back his WBA interim super middleweight title.
And in that fight, if it happens, look, I won't count Plant out. He's a former champion. He'll always be a champion. I won't count him out. But I would favor Resendiz because he's going to get better. Like I always say, now everyone uses my saying because, the old timers told me, Teddy Cuss told me, Teddy, when a guy wins a world title, he gets 30% better. And they do. You see it. He'll get better. Plant ain't getting better. Or after the amount of punches he took in this fight, on top of the ones he took in the Benavidez fight, on and on and on. We could go on and on. I don't think he's getting better. I mean, his heart always be there, his experience always be there, but he ain't getting better. Resendiz is going to get better.
Yeah. At 30, he will be probably about 33 years old at the time of the rematch. So we'll only be getting older as well as not potentially getting better, like you just said. So I think that was a thorough breakdown of those two fights there. We're going to move on. Before we do, I just want to give a quick pause and thank Athletic Greens. Athletic Greens introduces the new AG1 Next Gen. It now includes 5 clinically studied probiotic strains shown to support digestive and immune health with added vitamins and minerals. They've also now have new travel pack designs resulting in a much easier pour to improve the customer experience. So whether you guys are looking to boost your energy levels, support your immune system, or address gut health, Athletic Greens is the way to go. Simply visit athleticgreens.com/atlas to claim your special offer of 10 free travel packs with your first purchase. All right, with that being said, bud, we're going to move on Friday night in Mexico on DAZN. We go from the 168-pounders to the 122-pounders. We had Merab Akhmadaliev versus Luis Castillo. Akhmadaliev.
I'm impressed.
You like that?
I'm sorry, I have to interrupt. I am impressed. You said that. Can you say that 5 times fast?
I can't, but I would love to hear you say it 5 times fast.
MJ. See, that's where experience comes in, Rich. I'm always talking about the
Work
fighters.
smarter, not harder.
Yeah, the experience. That's experience. MJ. I'll say it again. MJ. And I'm not talking about Michael Jordan.
That's right. Well, MJ, the WBA interim champ, we know the king at 122 is the monster in a way, but this is a solid world champion here. It wasn't the most action-packed fight. A little tactical at the beginning. The southpaw MJ moving around, controlling distance, controlling range. Beautiful placed body shot, I believe in the 5th round, scored the knockdown. Scores another knockdown after that. And then the 8th round, the corner stops the fight. Castillo never had a chance. Seemed like he was just trying to survive. In the end, the win sets up the huge fight. First, the monster, Nanaway, Inoue. Before we get to, I want to hear your thoughts. What did you think of MJ in this fight? And give us a quick little tease and preview of maybe what we can expect for that upcoming clash versus Inoue.
Yeah, listen, MJ, what's he, 15-1 now?
He's 14-1 now with 11 knockouts, and since his only loss, he has won 3 fights in a row, all 3 by knockout now.
Yeah, his only loss was a split decision to a former world champion, Taplius.
Yes, a 2-weight world champion. That loss, as you said, came in 2023, Marlon Tapilis.
And it was a split decision. Look, this guy is a guy with the amateur background. He's got the amateur pedigree. This is a mature, serious, solid guy. Physically strong. He's a southpaw. He's a good puncher. He doesn't waste anything. He's very deliberate in his approach. He slowly, takes the air out of the room by carefully putting pressure on. He's not reckless. He's got good legs. He controls range really well, going in and out, changing range. That helps him defensively. It helps him offensively. He does that like Lomachenko did it. Not as good as Lomachenko. I don't know if anybody does legs as good as Lomachenko at his best did. And Lomachenko was better because he not only went in and out, he went to the sides. He went in, out, side, in. I mean, he was a magician with his legs. He was a ballet artist with his legs. But MJ uses them well. He doesn't waste anything. As my son said, he's got good eyes. He places punches really accurately, especially to the body. He throws a beautiful left uppercut to the liver. Beautiful, from the southpaw position. Usually you see that punch from the orthodox position with the conventional left hook to the liver. He does it with a left uppercut to the liver. He gets range. He delivers it, again, very accurately, flawlessly. He is a serious guy. He's not the busiest guy in the world, but that makes him a problem too. I kind of laughed. One of the commentators, I don't know who the guy was, but the blow-by-blow guy, I had to laugh when he said, "Oh, hey, this will never work against Inoue." What are you talking about? Why? He's got to throw more punches for you to give him a chance against Inoue? Where did you get your boxing diploma from? What school was that? I'd like to know. So he's going to have a better chance, in your estimation, to beat Inoue because he should be throwing a lot more punches. For me, that would go against his chances because then he'd have a better chance of getting caught. I think he's got a better chance to be very competitive in this Inoue because he doesn't throw reckless punches and too many punches where he gives Inoue a lesser chance to catch him as he's throwing those punches.
And he's a southpaw.
Yeah, and he's a southpaw. He's very select with what he throws. And when he throws, it's accurate. It's at the right place, at the right time, in the right position. He's not throwing, like you say, more punches where he might throw from too far away or too many in one spot, where Inoue, who's great at timing guys, would time him in between a fourth punch. Inoue won't have that opportunity because this guy is selective. He is smart. He is calculating. That's what gives him a chance. That's the opposite of what whoever he was. The opposite. That's what gives him a chance for me. Yeah, could he get out hustled? But in his mind, he won't get out hustled. You know why? Because his control with his legs of range takes care of his defense where you're not landing on him. He's making you miss. And then he's back in position looking again in a very calculating, very controlled way of placing the punches without being reckless, without giving up defense. The one thing I see a problem with his legs, and I gave him nothing but kudos for his legs. Now I got to give him a little correction. His legs are good, but he goes back too many steps in a row back. He'll go back 2-3 steps in a row. You don't do that. You don't do that. When you go back 2-3 steps in a row, you give a guy like Inoue and he'll pick up on it. Oh my goodness, he'll pick up on it fast. Where he'll follow you. He'll follow you tight. Not follow you loose where you go back and you can count him coming in. But he'll follow you tight. Whereas you go back 2-3 in a row, you're still in that track. You're still on that path of straight in front of him. He'll catch you. You should go back one step, then counter, then get off to the side, then move your head, something. But you can't go back 2 or 3 in a row. with the wrong fighter, you could pay a price, and in a way would probably be the wrong fighter too. But I see him as giving in, or he can punch. Again, he doesn't waste anything. His defense is good. He's got the amateur background. He's a southpaw. He places punches like a surgeon. That's an interesting fight. That's an interesting fight. Look, he broke down Castillo. He broke down a guy with 38 fights, a game Castillo, very game, but he kind of broke him down brick by brick. Just, and that's why it wasn't a scintillating fight the first 3-4 rounds, but he was taking bricks away. And then all of a sudden, the whole freaking foundation collapsed. To me, that's what he did. And when you're taking brick by brick, it's not exciting. It's not. I'm the first one to admit that. But then all of a sudden, when the house falls, that kind of gets your attention. Anyway, that's what I saw. He does zero in on the left. He throw the right hook too, which could be the most dangerous punch for a southpaw because orthodox fighters aren't used to seeing the right hook come from the peripheral that it comes from with the southpaw. So that could be a dangerous punch. He uses that too, but he loves the left hand to the body and then down the middle. That is his go-to. That's his go-to. That's the one he's looking to catch you with. And Inouye's going to know that. Inouye's going to look to take that away from him. But I give him a shot in that fight. I
don't think many people will, or maybe this will change their mind, because I think that was an excellent breakdown, as only you could say it with some of your great analogies there. So we will move on, with that being said, to another fight, weekend super middleweights, 168 pounds in Las Vegas as well. Bektemir Melikuziev versus Darius Fulghum.
I'm
like
impressed. Richie, I am impressed. These names he's just throwing these names at me, and so you know what I
Bektemir Melikuziev.
Yeah,
I hope I'm saying it right. You're giving me compliments. I know somebody out there is going to say, he didn't even say it right.
Melikuziev. I said it good. No, that was good. Melikuziev.
That was good. You,
Robert De Niro, and analyze this. You good. I will, if I had to go the easy way, I would go with what they call him, the bully.
The bully was the WBA #1 contender at 168 pounds coming in, and Darius Fulghum was undefeated at 14-0 coming into this fight, and was the WBA #6. I just want to start off by saying I give both of these guys a lot of credit for taking this fight on. It's not a lot of guys.
Hell of a fight. It was a heck of a fight.
Yeah, and to risk it this early in their career, 14 fights in, a lot of guys may not have taken this kind of fight and waited later on down the line in their career to risk it. It was the fight of the weekend. Great fight, unbelievable action, back and forth. Both guys had their moments. We talked about it earlier with Lamanna. He doesn't fight to his size, to his height, right? The same thing with Fulghum. That's why the fight was funny to me to watch it. Fulghum, this big, long guy. You think he's going to be on the outside, controlling range, using the distance, his jab. And on the outside, the shorter guy had his way, Melikuziev, the bully. But on the inside, the big guy with the longer arms was having his way in Fulghum. Thought it was just funny from a measurement standpoint and stylistic of the way that played out. But an incredible fight. In the end, I thought it was razor thin, super close. I thought going into the last round, whoever gets the last round, fine with me winning the fight. And the bully got the knockdown, and that was the difference. In the end, that knockdown was the difference on all the scorecards. He wins a unanimous decision, 114-112. He overcomes in round 7. He was deducted a point and overcomes that. And he gets the win. I want to hear your thoughts, and I just also want to say, but I thought it was a good job. We destroyed a judge in the last fight, rightfully so. I'm going to give some credit to the ref here. I thought Thomas Taylor did a good job in this fight and helped make it a really good action-packed fight. Great performance by both guys. I was also impressed by Fulghum, but what'd you think of the bully? What'd you think of the fight overall?
No, I think you broke it down magnificently, really, because You're right. The first thing, I'm not knocking anyone. They showed nothing but heart. It was a great fight. It's a shame more people probably didn't see it. You should see it. It was really a good fight. I think it could be a candidate for Fight of the Year. It was that good. It was that good. It really was. If you haven't seen it, watch it. I thought that Fulghum, and I'm just pointing things out. He fought with heart. He fought good. They both did. I thought if Fulghum, with those natural assets of height and length, could be taught to fight more consistently with the geography I always talk about on the outside that would benefit him. It would probably, look, he was undefeated going in, his first loss, but it would probably benefit him. It would probably make it harder to beat this guy because he punches well, he's got a good chin, he's got plenty of heart, he puts punches together pretty well, he's got good instincts, he's 28 years old, he's got 12 knockouts, so yes, he's got pop, even though that doesn't always indicate it because you don't know who the guys on the record are that he's knocking out, but he does have pop. You know, he hurt the bully several times, and they went back and forth hurting each other. But to your point, going in, you would have, at first look, you would have said, well, this guy's going to fight on the outside, Fulghum. He's going to have the edge on the outside. And Melikuziev, the bully, is going to have the edge on the inside. Well, for the most part, Fulghum hurt the bully on the inside, outfought him. I mean, look, the bully had his moments inside too. He went to the body really well. They both went to the body well. They both switched it up well. They both did a lot of good things. They both were susceptible to getting caught for different reasons in certain defensive lapses, but they were both putting forward solid performances at a high level. But the taller, more wiry, slender-built guy, because the bully is really built like you would imagine a bully. You know, he's built like a brick you-know-what house, like that song. But Fulghum really got the better of the inside, probably for the most part. Again, it was plenty of times when the bully also did his job on the inside. But Fulghum did most of his best work in close. And again, hurt the bully when he was in close. If he could have done more on the outside, again, it might have served him a little bit better, and I think it will serve him down the road in other fights. He was in there with a little bit of an enigma, where this shorter man, Melikuziev, was able to really outbox him on the outside. Part of it, he really won the fight with his boxing ability on the outside, Melikuziev. You would have thought that if he doesn't dominate on the inside going in, he ain't winning. But he really won the fight by dominating outside, outboxing the taller, longer Fulghum. And you know how he did it? The one way they didn't mention. Yeah, they mentioned that he this, that, boop, boop, bop, beep, beep. But his legs. He won the fight with his legs. His legs allowed him to go in and out, side to side, get angles. It allowed him to box. It allowed him to outbox a taller man. A man that probably most so-called experts in this business, and believe me, there's not really a lot of experts in this business, unfortunately. There's a lot of mouths out there and a lot of people who think they're experts, a lot of writers, this, that, whatever, and maybe they write it well. But as far as really understanding why and how, sometimes it comes up short. What really, again, did it, and I don't want to, beat a dead horse, But I got to say it one last time. What really allowed the shorter man to outbox the guy that we thought would probably be the guy doing the boxing was the legs of Melikuziev. He was able to go keep Fulghum off balance. He was able to get advantageous positions on him to score different punches. His legs, they surprised me. He did a heck of a job boxing. And he did what he had to do on the inside, in the spots. But Fulghum got the better probably on the inside. If it's not for the legs, if it's not for the mixing it up and throwing that little surprise that I think might have been a surprise for Fulghum, that he could box that well, he probably loses the fight. Yeah, he got the knockdown in the last round. He got that. And that put him over the top. But he probably wouldn't have even been as close in the fight if he hadn't used his legs the way he did. Look, he's been stopped one time by Gabe Rosado, real tough, good, solid fighter, and does a good job with the commentating. He got stopped by him in 2021. You could see that he could get stopped. He's there to get caught clean shots. But to his credit, he won the rematch with Rosado. So he revenged that one loss.
Yeah, he avenged that in 2023 by unanimous decision.
He's a guy that, look, he's right in there in the 168-pound class. You got a lot of interesting fights. Him and Resendiz would be an interesting fight with their styles. That would be a really. That's
a good call.
I mean,
I want the rematch first. Give me a rematch.
Agree. But Bully is, he's physical, he's strong. He's going to be fun to watch. And Resendiz is a guy who's only going to get better, who's going to get his confidence, and he's going to bring an aggressive approach. That would be a nice match. But yeah, the rematch for Fulghum deserves a rematch.
Absolutely. No, it was well said. And if Fulghum could get that component on the outside and be more versatile than more just an inside fighter, like you were saying, he could be a guy that'll be a tough out for anybody in that 168-pound division. And I agree with you, but I don't think it matters whoever the Bully fights. I think he's always going to be in tough fights that kind of way for a lot of the reasons that you just stated.
Yeah, and just as you said, I'll put a bow on it by just kind of piggybacking off what you said about Fulghum, the guy who lost a close fight. He's got a lot of good tools. I like him. I like his heart. I like his attitude. He can punch. He knows what he's doing. He gives up his height where, again, he would be better served. You said it better than me. Just to have that option, to be just more dimensional. Yeah, we know he can fight inside. That's great. Just because you're tall don't mean you can't fight inside. That's great. But to be able to also fight on the outside with those physical assets and gifts and advantages you have, that would just make him that much more difficult to deal with. It makes me think of Riddick Bowe in heavyweight. Everyone thought that on the inside, Holyfield would beat him in the first fight, and when he won the title, Bowe. And everyone thought Holyfield, but Bowe was bigger, he was longer, everything. But he beat Holyfield on the inside because he knew how to fight. He knew how to shorten up his punches, even though he had longer arms. He knew how to do damage on the inside, and he did. And then he also was able to fight on the outside, too.
Yeah, well said. Thorough breakdown. That fight deserved it. Deserved the time we spent on it. Guys, go back on DAZN. Watch it. It was a great fight. With that being said, we will move on. And I just want to talk about boxing news now. We're done with the recaps of the fights from this past weekend. But in boxing news, following his rematch win over Bruno Saras, Jaime Munguia failed a VADA test after testing positive for a banned substance. Now, I didn't want to get you in the weeds here, bud, and get too dirty on this topic, but enough is enough.
What did Howard Cosell do? People love him, hate him. He was with Monday Night Football. He was an icon. What did Howard Cosell? He had a show, telling it like it is. I think that's kind of all I can tell you is that we try to tell it like it is.
Yeah, tell it like it is. You've been telling it like it is your whole entire life, and been pleading and demanding for change and for a national commission, and for there to be more serious repercussions or consequences for the actions of people who are cheating in a sport where people get punched in the face. And it's just enough is enough. Something needs to be done. I want to talk to you about this because you've trained fighters for 50 years. You've trained 18 world champions and countless other fighters and contenders throughout those 50 years. In your entire career, while training a fighter, not after or before, while you were responsible under your tutelage and your supervision, how many fighters got popped in your career? Zero. I know you're humble. I know you don't want to answer it. It's zero. I say that, Bud, because we're talking about now, besides guys getting punched in the head of like I said, over and over, where it can't just be the fighter held accountable anymore. I think it needs to be more than that. I think we have to take more steps. And I say that because you as a trainer, and I know what you put into it and what it sees and what the top trainers do, and you're the top of the top. You make sure that you oversee everything. You're responsible for everything that goes on in a training camp and for a fighter. The strength and conditioning coach, the nutritionist, everything that is in regard to that training camp. You are the supervisor of the training camp and the fighter. With that being said, I hear the remarks of Canelo Alvarez, his trainer, Eddie Reynoso trains Jaime Munguia, saying, well, I support him. Of course, Munguia says he was shocked to find this out. And Eddie Reynoso, Canelo said, well, Eddie doesn't give him his food. Well, you oversee everything. Somebody has to be responsible. If the trainer was held responsible, then maybe this wouldn't happen. Or maybe these fighters shouldn't be eligible to go into the International Boxing Hall of Fame. They can in baseball. Roger Clemens ain't in, right? Mark McGuire, Barry Bonds, Rafael Palmeiro. We could go on and on and on. There's punishment for what they did. Something has to end, bud. I couldn't take it anymore. I had to say that. I want to get your thoughts. I did single out Eddie Reynoso because this was his fighter, Jaime Munguia. The same thing with Canelo Alvarez in 2018 before his rematch with Triple G. He had Julio Cesar Martinez, March 30th, 2024. And he also had Oscar Valdez test positive. I've said enough, bud. I just want to throw it to you if you want to add anything to that. I know I went on my little rant, but there's no place in this sport or in any sport, but especially in the fight game, in the hurt business.
No, listen, Reynoso is a good trainer. We know that. He's had good fighters. He's been with good fighters. Canelo has, I judge a good trainer a couple ways. Did he take a kid from the beginning and make him a top fighter? Did he take somebody that needed to get better in his pro career or at some point in his career and make him better, make those corrections and improve him? Did he do that? And I thought Canelo got better throughout his career. Part of it is Canelo. He matured. He got experience. He's smart. And he improved. He got better, as, you would hope. But the trainer gets part of the credit for that. I've seen fighters where they get hit too much in their career early on. They're tough. They're vibrant. They have talent. They have heart. They have a great chin. Like I said, they got power. They got whatever the talents are. But they don't become harder to hit. They don't improve. They don't get improved in the areas they need to be improved to really get to their maximum potential. And you see it. I see it too many times and that's partly the trainer. The trainer needs to help them improve. And we don't have a million guys that can do that in this business. We don't have a million teachers. Reynoso, I think, did that with Canelo. I think he gets credit for doing that with Canelo. He's been with him long enough. But there's no getting around those things you touched on. I'm not there. I don't know. But, you know, that old saying, I guess, where there's smoke, there's fire. I don't know. But what you listed wasn't conjecture. It wasn't opinion. It wasn't, wasn't gossip. You're just mentioning black and white facts. You're just pointing out stuff that's there to point out. And it, as far as, I'm not here to slaughter him. I'm not here to defend him. I'm just here to tell it like it is. And to tell it like it is only to point out what you put forward, which is black and white documentation of facts. That's all. That's all. The rest, one thing I can't, as a trainer, I can't attest to, and I can't condone. One thing, I don't know if he's guilty or not guilty. All I know is what you said are factual things. But I do know this, that when you're the trainer, and I just gave him his accolades, and he deserved them, Reynoso. But when you're the trainer, you're responsible for everything. Everything that goes on in that camp, you know about it. If you don't, then you're not a trainer. He's a trainer. He knows about it. You have to know about it. I don't want to hear about, I don't serve him his food. I don't want to hear that, because that would be like, you're the head guy. You're the head chef. It would be like being the head chef, really. And I think this is a fair analogy. In a restaurant. And you're the top chef. And you got other guys working for you, don't get me wrong, because you got a big restaurant. You can't cook everything. So you got a big restaurant. You got assistants, that are helping prepare. But you're the man. You're the head chef. Nothing leaves that kitchen without your approval. That's it. Nothing leaves that kitchen without you saying, yeah, let it leave. Yeah, there's other people helping prepare. There's no doubt about it. It's part of, working a job. Sometimes when the job is that big that you need assistance, you need other help, you need a strength training, you need this, you need that. All of those things, all those moving parts, that's fair. Just like it is in the kitchen with the chef. But nothing leaves that kitchen without the chef's approval. He oversees everything. And that's all I can say. Again, I'm not here to condemn him. The guy's got an all-star career. God bless him. But there is no room for steroids in my business. In a business I've been in, our business, 50 years, there is no room. Because as you said, there's no room in baseball, there's no room in the other sports. They went after it to get rid of it. Well, there's really no room in our sport. Because, yeah, they went after it, but what were they doing? It was unfair, but they were hitting a baseball. In this sport, if you're putting that in your veins, you're hitting a guy's skull. You're hitting a human being in the head. And if you have an unfair advantage because the stuff you're putting into your blood, into your veins, that's dangerous. That's beyond unfair. That's criminal and dangerous. So there is no room for it. And there's a lot more of it going on in boxing than people are even aware of. There's no doubt about it. Because we don't do a good job in my sport, in our sport, of really cleaning up those things, of policing those things. We don't even do a good job with the judging. The judges rob somebody, next week they're freaking robbing someone else. Are you kidding me? I mean, what other job could you do the worst possible job? And then still be working when Monday comes along? Nowhere, except in boxing. It's absurd. And this is even worse. Because you are putting into somebody's body that's going to use that body to go and attack someone else's body. So, again, I don't know. I have never seen anything where Reynoso is a bad guy or is a slime bag and he would do this. I'm not saying he is. I don't think he is. But, again, somebody's got to start somewhere cleaning this up. And you got to start with examples. And you got to start where you see these things. Then you have to have something in place, someone in place. That's where I always yell, there's got to be a national commission. Somebody in place to say, wait a minute, let's look at all of it. Not just Eddie, let's look at all. Anywhere where it comes up where somebody pops dirty. And let's start doing more testing. We're not doing enough testing. Let's do more tests, more thorough testing. And if someone pops up dirty, let's look at it. Let's do something about it. Let's have accountability. And if you ask me if, and it's a big if, but if you ask me if a fighter pops and he gets suspended, there's a accountability, whatever that accountability is for popping dirty. Should the trainer also be culpable? Should he also be connected? Should he also be suspended? I'd say yes. Should there also be accountability to him? I would say yes. I would say yes. Because that's one of the ways you're going to stop it. For everybody to be accountable. Everybody to be accountable. If my fighter wins a fight, I get saluted. I get credit. If he loses, I also have to take responsibility for that loss. When Volcic lost the light heavyweight title to a great fighter, Beterbiev, a great fighter, I tell you the truth, I'm responsible. I'm responsible for that loss. We were winning the first 10 rounds. We were ahead going into the 10th round in that fight against a great champion. But at the end of the day, I came up short in my preparation for that fight for Volcic to lose that fight. I did. I think I did a good job of improving Volcic and winning the title that we won against the great Adonis Stevenson, a great puncher, southpaw, great fighter. I think that I did a good job in technically improving him, making him harder to hit, giving him a style that he needed to fight against such a dangerous guy. And I thought I overall improved his technique in those areas. But I thought that in the Beterbiev fight, I deserve, I deserve.
Well, I think you're being a little hard on yourself.
No,
You
I
were the
deserve
only
some of the
guys,
responsibility for that loss.
and you guys were the only guys to be ahead on the scorecards going into the 10th round versus Artur Beterbiev until Dmitry Bivol more recently. The game plan was right. There's a lot of things we could get into there, and I'm always going to protect you because I think you did a great job that night. You just fought a great fighter, and Alex fell short. But back to the conversation of the start, something has to be done. I think conversations like this, coming up with ideas of making more accountability, as you said, to deter this kind of behavior, not from just a fighter, but the whole entire camps. There needs to be more at stake. We have too much going on in positive ways right now with boxing and infusion of money and big fights. We can't keep going backwards with this kind of stuff and at the risk of people's lives. So I just wanted to, it had to be talked about. It was big news this week and news that could never happen, as we said, in the fight game. So with that being said, Bud, we're going to wrap it up. Before we wrap it up with the boxing talk, well, we did wrap it up with the boxing talk. I want to throw one last thing at you, our UFC MMA fans out there. We got a big one coming up this weekend. We were at the first one at the Sphere in Las Vegas, and I'll be lucky enough to be in town and tag along with you at the Prudential Center in Newark coming up. UFC 316, the rematch. Merab Dvalishvili versus Sean O'Malley. I want to hear from you, your thoughts. The first time Merab won a unanimous decision, he won the title. He had a pretty easy go with it. He was kissing him. He was clowning around a little bit, showboating. And to put it all out there, there may have been something that hindered O'Malley. He had an injury. He had hip surgery to repair that after that fight. He should be full health, full go. This is his first fight since losing his title. The rematch. Quick preview, prediction. What do you think?
Yeah, listen, I thought O'Malley, we've had Merab on the show. We've had him on the podcast.
Right after his defense of that title versus Umar.
Him
and his great coach, Ray Longo.
Yeah, and they're great people. And we've had O'Malley on the podcast too, and he's a great guy. And he's one of the, Merab is too, but he's one of the stars in the MMA now, in the MMA world, in the UFC, to be exact. he is one of the stars of the UFC now, and that was one of the stars taking a loss to another star, Merab. But O'Malley's a star for his talent, his striking ability. Everyone loves strikers. His boxing ability, I call it boxing. That's how good his striking is. He looks like a boxer to me at times. He really is that good. And he's a good promoter. His look, the whole thing, he's got a good base, everything. Both these guys I like a lot. And Merab's the machine, and the machine, this machine, I think he actually might not drink Gatorade. He might actually drink oil. I mean, this guy is something. He's something. He gets injured too. I think O'Malley legitimately was probably off physically in that first fight. But to his credit, he didn't use it as an excuse. To his credit, he didn't bring that up as an excuse. I think Merab was probably injured going in or has been in, or put it this way, they're like football players. When that season starts, is there anybody on the roster that's not injured in one way or another?
Nobody's 100%.
Nobody. It's just a matter of how much, how bad. And Merab, in his last fight, wasn't 100% going in. Not the O'Malley fight, but his last fight. He wasn't 100%. He had an injury going in there. That's what these guys deal with. That's part of it. But there's no getting around it that O'Malley may have been compromised a little bit. But I think the biggest thing in that fight, and I had picked O'Malley to win, was that Merab, where I underestimated Merab, not his engine, not his ability on the floor, on the mat. We know how great he is there, and he's got the big edge there. But he does a good job striking too, in a less sensational way than O'Malley. It doesn't get as much attention. O'Malley's fast. He puts punches together. He uses his legs to control the cage. He's a great counterpuncher. He sets traps. He does, again, he looks like a boxer when he's at his best, O'Malley. But Merab, to his credit, he does a damn good job, but in a more conservative, more buttoned up, a more controlled, a more conventional way. He uses the jab. He doesn't get reckless. He uses his legs when he comes forward to make sure he's coming forward, balanced all the time, in position to punch, not leaving opportunities really to counter him that easily. He is solid that he doesn't get as much credit because O'Malley is so sensational in that area and does it with the speed and with all the bells and whistles, all the thing that catches our attention. We look at him. But Merab uses his jab. He doesn't give you reckless aggression. He goes to the body. He throws the punches at the right distance. They're tight punches. He doesn't throw punches from left field where he leaves himself wide open. And his legs are better. See, we all look at O'Malley's legs, controlling the ring and changing range and giving angles. I mean, he looks like a Pernell Whitaker sometimes, O'Malley, when he's at his best. But Merab's legs won that fight for him. And I don't mean kicking. He controlled range to the point he didn't give O'Malley what he needed. He didn't cooperate with O'Malley. He didn't give O'Malley the landscape he needed to be at his best with his skill sets, which are counterpunching. O'Malley is kind of like a young McGregor. McGregor at his best, he was sensational. Forget about the great promoter he was. We know that already. But man, he was sensational. Southpaw, he was a great counterpuncher. When he knocked out Aldo, that was the one that put him there. He got cooperation. Anytime he got the right style, the cooperation, where a guy reached in, a guy got a little over-aggressive, maybe because he talked so much, he got guys mad. And he was brilliant. He was brilliant. And then the guy all of a sudden goes to shut his mouth, and he goes to throw from a little too far away. What does McGregor do? Takes a half a step back, makes you reach, and then puts your lights out with a straight left hand or a right hook. because he's a good puncher, but he's a great counterpuncher. But he is specific to certain styles. This style of Merab was not specific to O'Malley's style of being at its best. It wasn't the best style for O'Malley. O'Malley needs a little help, or it helps him a little bit, where either you wait in front, where he could get off with those quick combinations. He does it brilliantly. He puts them together really nice. Or, as I said, you get a little over anxious. You get a little over your skis. You reach in just a little bit, and he counterpunches you like he did to Sterling. You know, Sterling reached a little bit, bang, bang. He countered him with the reaching in. Merab was smart. I always talk about these great ones. They got to be smart, not just tough, not just skillful, not just talented. They got to be smart. He was smart. He didn't give him that environment. He didn't give him that help. He didn't give him that landscape. He didn't give him what he wanted to counterpunch. He didn't reach. He actually controlled the cage and the ring with his legs of going in and out. He stepped out. He actually, by the end of it, he was making O'Malley do something that he's not really at his best doing, being aggressive. Because O'Malley is a great counterpuncher. And he can be aggressive as long as he don't have to walk forward all night. When I say aggressive, he can get off first. If you're waiting, you're hesitant in front, and you wait and you're thinking too long, bop, 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 bop. He'll get off. He'll beat you to the mark. But if he's forced to walk in, and you got a guy like Merab making him walk in, then you're taking away one of his greatest strengths. His ability to make you make mistakes and make you pay for those mistakes. Merab took that away from him. That's how he won the fight. He controlled the ring. He controlled the range. He used his legs beautifully in that fight, not to allow O'Malley to have what he usually gets. Openings for counter shots. This is a very interesting fight for me. Really, really is interesting. I tell you, a part of me wants to pick O'Malley in a rematch. I do. But
plus 240 underdog this go around. Merab minus 330 favorite.
I wouldn't be afraid to put something on O'Malley. But for Merab, for me, he's no dummy. And he got a taste of the title now. And he's not a spring chicken. He doesn't want to let that title go. And for me, he's got a smart trainer too. A great trainer. O'Malley does too, but he's got a great trainer. And Merab. And I see him doing what he has to do. And what he has to not do. Not get over anxious. Not play into the counterpunching game that could serve O'Malley. I see him in the striking business using the jab into the chest of O'Malley, controlling range. Don't let O'Malley control range with his long arms and his quick combination. Use your jab. Slowly, cautiously and correctly close the gaps without giving anything up, without getting mugged on the way in. And then trying to get into places where you can shoot and, of course, get it to the mat. Now, O'Malley is underrated when it comes to his grappling skills. You know, he's not going to out-grapple Merab. You don't need Teddy Atlas to tell you that. He's not out-grappling Merab on the floor. But his grappling defense, his takedown defense is pretty damn good. Pretty damn good, O'Malley's.
Really good.
If he can, yeah, it is. Kind of like Adesanya. That's one of the reasons why Adesanya was able to be a champion. He was a great striker, great, talent. He was like a Bruce Lee. But he also wasn't great on the floor, but his defense from getting taken down was good enough. And at the end of the day, Do I have to give a pick? Because I'm really torn between these two guys. I'd probably have to go.
We won't give a pick because you're gonna be commentating with Chael and with all the guys with UFC. So
Yeah.
the preview was enough. I'll throw it out there. I like both of these guys. I'm a big O'Malley fan. At those odds, I don't know if I'd be willing to risk that kind of money in this tight matchup, but I'm never going against the machine of Merab. I can't do it. I'm a huge fan, and I just, it's too tough for me to go against that guy. But that was a great breakdown, bud. I can't wait to go to that fight, and
We're gonna be with our man Charlie Monahan, the director. Give him a little shout out. He does a great job. He does the captain.
Yeah.
The captain.
Charlie and his whole crew.
Directing.
They
his whole
always
crew.
take great
Cheyenne
care of me.
and Glenn and all the commentators that I work with, Chael and Anthony Smith and Dominic Cruz.
They're the best. I can't
John
wait.
Anik and I mean go on, and Mike Bisping and all of them. They're all
it doesn't end. And that'll wrap it up, bud. I think that was a very thorough breakdown of all the great fights, some boxing news, as well as a preview for the UFC 316 pay-per-view.
Can I add one thing?
Of course.
Because I don't want people saying, you kind of, you skipped out on us. I don't want anyone ever saying that. You know, Teddy, usually you put yourself there. You're not afraid to put your. I can't go against the machine either. It's hard. I loved O'Malley. If Merab does let up a little bit psychologically, if he gets a little bit full of himself, if he gets a little, arrogant or something, which I don't think he will. But if he does, he's got a lot of confidence. He's got an ego. They all do. I mean, you wouldn't be that great if you didn't have one. If he gets a little cocky and tries to do a little bit too much with the striking, I can see O'Malley taking advantage of that. But at the end of the day, hard to go against the guy that drinks oil.
No question. So there you have it. And next week, we are going to be on Tuesday. We will be recording on Monday. There's a ton of boxing coming up. We got world champions fighting all over the place, bud. Keyshawn Davis, Jao Pataya, Junto Nakatani. And some of those fights, besides the fact we will be there at the UFC Saturday, those fights are taking place on a Sunday. So in order to be able to give the viewers the recap from Teddy, we'll be airing on Tuesday, not Monday next week. So as always, thank you for being with us. Please like, comment, subscribe. We'll see you guys next week.